All right. Well, guys, I hate to say it, but Kramer put out his list of the top 10 stocks for 2023. And boy, all I got to say is I hope you don't own some of these. And boy, was it ever basically the most Kramer list ever. I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm not saying they're all disasters. But boy, I just trust me, guys. When we get into this list here and the reasons why, I think, well, you're not going to be amazed if you know Kramer, but it still kind of blew my mind as I was reading through it. So let's talk about all 10 of these stocks today. And I just ask that you like the video and make sure you're subscribed, or else I heard it's a rumor that, your portfolio will do worse than Kramer. So, just you want to make sure you're subscribed just to make sure that doesn't happen to you. It's just a rumor though, so not confirmed. So he basically has it broken out into two, kind of 5 stock pots per se. Basically, the first one here that we'll talk about are the best performers from 2022 that he thinks will continue performing through 2023. So the first stock up here is Halliburton, and I'm just going to read you guys the quote right here from the article. Kramer predicted that the stock has a multi-year rally ahead of it. That's it. That's all we have. I don't know what it's based on. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the growth rates are. I do think Halliburton obviously is going to, benefit from some of the infrastructure and some of the other things that are happening next year. But we also have a global recession that's probably going to happen as well. So I'm not sure Halliburton is going to see the same amount of contracts and a lot of other things flow through this year during a global recession like they did in previous couple of years. But, hey, he said it's going to rally, got a major multi-year rally ahead. So I don't know, a multi-year rally, right? Yeah. So stock number 2 is Constellation Energy. And basically he said the company will likely be a big beneficiary of funding from the Inflation Reduction Act. He said, adding that he believes Constellation Energy is the best operator of nuclear plants. And as you guys can tell, I really suck at reading, and this is public reading in public, so it's going to be bad. I apologize. You just got to kind of flow with me here. Now, basically, energy across the board had a great year last year, but, we're basically in one of these, tanking markets. We're in the middle of a market crash, and usually the last stocks to go are stocks exactly like this. So if you think this crash is basically going to end, sometime here in 2023, that means stocks like this one are going to have to come down in some cases significantly. Now, I haven't done due diligence on a stock, so I have no idea if this one has a whole bunch to fall or a little bit to fall or whatever the case is. But I'm not betting on stocks that had great years last year having another great year this year either. But again, do your own due diligence, guys. That's key. That's imperative. I know we talk about it all the time, but you got to do your due diligence on all of these. Not listen to a YouTuber like me or listen to Kramer or anybody else. So stock number 3 is Inphase Energy, and he's calling it the renewable golden boy, Kramer said. The solar energy technology company is a profitable, solid business. Again, it's another stock that I know has just grown by gangbusters this year, so I have no idea how it's going to repeat that performance next year, especially since it is a solar company, and I don't know about you guys, but in a recession and when people's money gets tight, I'm not sure people running straight to solar and paying the price for solar. I understand some places like California make it, it's basically almost free in some cases in California. Again, I'm not talking about specifics here, just a general view there, but kind of across the country and such, and across the world, more importantly, I'm not sure people are going to run to replace everything with solar when the budget kind of gets tight and money really gets squeezed in the recessionary environment. So again, it's one of those that really makes me wonder, are we going to see a lot of gains out of stocks like that this year? Or are there a lot of other stocks that way underperformed last year that will be much better picks for this year? So stock number 4 is McKesson, and I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. I apologize in advance. If you've been a fan of this channel for any time, I can't pronounce any words. So, you just got to kind of rock with me here. But he said stocks that drug distributors, if I could talk, such as McKesson, tend to work well during an economic slowdown, he said. Yeah, I could see that obviously when people need their medicine, and obviously, this is a drug distributor of those medications. I'm not sure if people cut back on drugs. Maybe they go from the, name branded generic or something like that. I think most people do that anyways. At least I know I sure do if I ever need medicine. But you're right. That's a necessity. People are going to get their meds whether they, good recession, good times, bad times, whatever the case is. If people need their meds, they're going to get their meds regardless. That's just kind of one of those necessities of life. So yeah, I could absolutely see that one being okay. Now, again, I haven't looked at the valuation. I haven't looked at anything else like that, but assuming it isn't, trading, normal PE of the stock, as I'm just going to throw out a number here, 25, I have no idea. And it's trading at a 50 PE. Okay, in that case, I may very well lay off, but if it's still trading at a reasonable range, he's absolutely right. It will still continue to perform through this year. And rounding out this first batch of stocks would be Northrop Grumman, and he said the company stock could be the best defense contractor to own as the war between Russia and Ukraine continues, according to Kramer. That's what he said. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I know darn well that, obviously Russia's not buying any new weapons from Lockheed Martin, and I'm not real sure how much of the weaponry that's being used in the Ukraine war by Ukraine is actually made by them, so I honestly have no idea. I would be much more concerned with Lockheed Martin. How are their larger government contracts coming moving forward? How is that F-35 contract coming as it moves forward? So a lot to look at there. So I guess that's possible. Obviously, if that war ends, I mean, obviously, I don't know. According to him, that's what's making it go. So if that war ends, I guess Lockheed's out of luck. So. And now let's move on to the worst performers of 2022 that he thinks are going to be great performers here in 2023. So this should be very, very interesting, guys. Let's take a look. So stock number one of this part of the list would be Netflix. And I believe, well, not I believe, he says he believes Netflix has turned itself around because they were so confident on the last earnings call. You know, for almost 2 years, their conference calls were funerals, even when Squid Game took the world by storm, he said, adding, and lots of growth-oriented money managers want to find improving franchises, and that fits Netflix to a T. So basically what Cramer's saying here is all you need to do is be confident on a conference call. Screw what they actually say in the conference call, what the numbers say, what the growth rates are, or anything else. Just be confident on the conference call. And hey, that makes you a buy. You're going to be a great performer the next year, right? I'm sure that's not what he means all the way around, but when you read this, and this is exactly what's happening, people are getting online and reading this, somebody's going to think a catalyst for a stock is management sounding confident in a conference call. Guess what? All those, crypto idiots that were ripping everybody off with crypto, they sounded awful confident that they weren't scamming anyone either. So, obviously the people that are probably going to screw you the worst, to me, are probably going to sound the best during a conference call. And then some of the worst conference calls seem to happen sometimes with some of the best companies. I'm sorry, there's some great CEOs out there, but they just suck on conference calls, or maybe, they just don't come across well. Maybe they're a little bit nerdy. I don't know, but I just know that being the most confident in the conference call is not something I would point to as, hey, let me put my money there. That's going to be one of the top 5, performing or top 10 performing stocks of 2023, because that management team right there, they were confident. Last year they weren't confident, but this year, confident, all in. So the second stock in this group would be Stanley Black & Decker. And he said investors interested in the stock should start a small position here and gradually buy more on the way down. Wait a second. These are the stocks that are supposed to be, losers last year, but they're going to be big gainers this year, the best stocks of this year. But you're telling me to start a small position and then buy on the way down, essentially implying that it's going to go down. And honestly, there's nothing else there. There's nothing else attached to this. So I don't know. That's what he's saying. He's saying, hey, it's telling me it's going to be a loser. Maybe it's going to be a winner in 2024, and that's really what he meant. It just wasn't left in here. I don't know, guys. Yeah, can't make this stuff up. So stock number 3 would be VF Corp. And Cramer said that while VF Corp stock had a horrendous performance last year, he's betting that the new interim CEO, Bino Dorer, I apologize if I messed that name all up. I'm not sure I've ever seen that name before, will help the company return value to shareholders in 2023. So obviously they had horrendous performance for a reason, right? And then now they brought in an interim CEO, meaning that they are still looking for their new CEO. But if you got a guy there that's really going to turn it around and really return value to shareholders, and more importantly, be one of the best performing stocks of 2023, why wouldn't you just hire that guy? I don't know. Some of these things right here, I'm trying to piece it all together, and I just can't piece that one together. I'm a little bit baffled by that. Again, it's not saying that can't happen, not saying the guy can't turn it around. It just, to me, seems kind of odd that they're only calling him an interim CEO while they're looking for their permanent CEO. And yet Cramer's out there saying this guy's going to be the guy that can turn it around, where obviously the previous management team couldn't turn it around and they had horrendous performance last year. Sounds to me just a little bit like speculating instead of actually, looking at fundamentals or something else going on with the business itself. So stock number 4 would be Meta Platforms, and Cramer said that while the stock has been a disaster, he believes that the metaverse will either take off or fizzle out this year. The former scenario would be good news for the company, while the latter would mean the company could divert its metaverse budget to other segments such as Reels and WhatsApp, he said. All right, there's a lot of problems with this right here, in general. But first off, I'm going to agree. I think Meta is going to be one of the best performing stocks this year. It already has, if you basically count it from its, when it hit its low there in the 80s. And has really shot up since that, up into the 120s or so. It really has performed really well, and I think it's going to continue to perform well because it got beat down so incredibly bad. But I'm sorry, thinking that the metaverse is going to either play out, it's either going to be a boom or bust this year, is just asinine. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to say that. That's not how this is going to work out. This is a multi-year process for them to get there. I agree. I don't think he's going to go all in on the metaverse like he was before. He's already basically stated they're not going to do that anymore. But I think this is going to be something that he tinkers with and that they play with for the next 3, 4, 5 years from now. It's definitely not a boom or bust thing this year. And yes, he's absolutely right that if they decide to move away from the metaverse altogether, all that cash that they were burning on that is just simply going to go into all the other platforms that they do have. And obviously the bottom line is us as shareholders. That's one of the reasons why I've been buying it massively last year, especially as it got under $100. It was just insane. It didn't make any sense. They still print money. Despite burning money, they were still printing more money than they were burning, amazingly. So it's kind of one of those deals there to where, yeah, that thesis is right. The timeline there of just trying to make it this boomer bust this year is just kind of silly. So I guess that's one right there. I got to say I agree with Kramer there, even though the basis was a little bit off. It is one that I do agree with. And finally, we had Advanced Micro Devices, or AMD. And he said that while AMD stock has been battered by waning demand in personal computers this year, he still believes in CEO Lisa Su and the company's underlying business. All right, I'll go with that one. This is not one I'm going to argue at all with them. I mean, AMD is a great company, so is Nvidia, and I do think all those stocks will bounce back here in 2023. Now, how much and back to all-time highs? Probably not. Obviously they got way overheated and way overvalued and such, but I definitely could see them bouncing back on the backside of 2023 especially. So I don't know what you guys thought of the list there. Again, please do your due diligence on these stocks before you do anything. Don't take my take or Kramer's take or anybody else's take on it. This was just kind of a hot reaction to the list and just kind of how a little bit of information was given and it was passed, as basically, hey, Kramer's saying this and here's the reason why. And I don't know, a lot of those reasons why were really, really weak, and a lot of the what little thesis there was there as to why that would be a good deal was, I won't call it wrong, but definitely very suspect at best. So I wanted to point that out to you guys so that way you guys could kind of see what those lists kind of derive of and how little, I won't say thought goes into it, but my guess is he'll probably say 275 stocks are buys this year and probably tell you to sell 295 stocks on the other end of it, and, kind of back and forth and such. We're seeing that everywhere right now. We're seeing it on YouTube. We're seeing it everywhere. So just kind of be leery of that sort of stuff, guys, and understand this was probably more of just a hot take list than it was an actual, hey, this is exactly what I would do, if I had, $10,000 and I was going to invest it today, I'm going to put $1,000 in each one of these stocks. I'm not sure that's really where he would go with that. And if you want to learn how to do actual due diligence and have a whole team around you helping you throughout the way, make sure you check out the pinned comment down there, for the link to my private group, and kind of at least check it out and see what you get with all that. And click here if you want to see the stocks that I'm buying during this downturn, and click here if you want to see exactly what I'm doing during this downturn. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.